up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so former NBA player, Hall of Famer, NBA champion Paul Pierce appeared on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp. And he said something that is going viral right now. And it has, yes, to do with his one-time rival, LeBron Ramon James. Now, of course, the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers, well, really, I should say Paul Pierce and LeBron James faced each other a few times in the playoffs, in particular when LeBron was in Cleveland, Paul Pierce was in Boston, and when LeBron James switched teams to Miami. Early on, Paul Pierce got the best of LeBron James. Ultimately, LeBron James did get the best of the Boston Celtics, but it was in a hard-fought 7-game series some years ago. By that point in time, age had caught up with the Boston Celtics, and Paul Pierce truly believes that if he was younger, LeBron James would have fewer than 4 championships.
If we were the same age, I don't believe he would have had 4 championships. He wouldn't have got.
You'd have kept him for 4?
He wouldn't have got those 2 in Miami. Because I gotta believe if we're the same age and I could offset him, and that would have been good enough.
Right.
You know, like if he had got 40 in Game 6 and we the same, I would probably got 40 and offset him.
Right.
You know, I was at an older age then, a lot of miles and stuff, and it was hard for me to keep up with him. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be looking at that tape shredder and I'm like, damn. I couldn't even move. Like, as a younger, I could have moved with him, but I'm like.
Yeah, because you know, in Brooklyn, you say you got it. You gonna D him up in Brooklyn. I don't know what you was on that
my
day.
Mind and body say 2 different things.
Your mind was saying one thing, that body said, nah, I ain't
got him, you know. I thought I did.
That's Code Shannon to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
They played in Brooklyn too in the playoffs. I think Garnett was there too. Look, I gotta say this to all these LeBron fans who are calling cap on Paul Pierce on this one. See, you guys didn't watch Paul Pierce in clutch situations. I'm not saying that he was as, quote, great a player all time as LeBron James. But when they faced off against each other, Paul Pierce had some monster games. Monster games. Like if LeBron went out there and dropped 30, Pierce would have 30, 31. LeBron James dropped 40, Pierce going to have 35. If LeBron James had 45, Pierce going to drop 41. That's what I'm trying to say. He was trying to match him tat for tat, and sometimes he was outplaying LeBron James, at least offensively. But by the Miami Heat years, Paul Pierce couldn't turn it on as frequently, because that's what he's getting at. Like, he was starting to have more miles on them legs. He was never the most athletic guy anyway, although at 6'7" and 240, he did have size on him. You know what I'm saying? So I understand where he's coming from. He's saying, like, well, if you look at the fact that, you know, by the Miami years, Paul Pierce had to be, 30, 36, 35, 36, right? He's saying, like, if I was 25, 26, then this would be something different. You know, it would have been a different series because I could have more consistently matched his production offensively. But you know, and he had the other guys there. But I have to say this too. I don't think it's just. Give me 1 second here. Okay. I don't think it's just him too, though, because you gotta remember, Garnett was older. Ray Allen was older. Matter of fact, I think of all of them, Ray Allen is the oldest. I think Ray Allen turned 50 this year. I think Garnett is 49. I think Pierce is 47, about to turn 48. So yeah, like all of them were older by that time. So if they were all like 7, 8 years younger, oh yeah, I could definitely see that Boston team beating them in 5 or 6. And then I see people saying, oh man, when Paul Pierce was 25, 26, he was losing to the Pacers. Oh, he wasn't win. Well, I mean, bruh, do you see some of the teams Paul Pierce had? He had no help. Like his best teammate was Antoine Walker. And they went to an Eastern Conference Finals. Those Pacers teams in the early to mid 2000s, and those Pistons teams they're way better than Boston. You talk about a guy whose prime was wasted. That was Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce prime was wasted. He did not have a real championship contending team until he was past 30 years of age. Until that trade happened in 2007 when he was 30 years old. Now imagine if that team had been together longer. Let's say that team had been put together 3 years earlier. Because we got to be honest, like, yeah, sometimes that one championship gets overstated by Boston, but they could have, if you really look at the whole picture, they could have three-peated. Garnett got hurt in 2009, which totally ruined their championship chances. And then in 2010, they were 1 quarter away from winning a championship, with the X factor being, by that point in time, Pau Gasol was outplaying Kevin Garnett, who was not the same player after that injury the year prior, which, of course, had a lot to do with age and attrition. So I know it gnaws at Paul Pierce because even though he's an NBA champion, he can look at his mind and think, man, if I had a team the way that some of these other guys have had teams, like the guys take advantage of having talent around them, if I'd had this talent around me earlier, man, I could have won multiple championships. But sometimes it is luck. I've made this comparison before, and I think other people have made this comparison. I think Ticket TV made this comparison too. Imagine if Carmelo Anthony had been drafted by the Detroit Pistons as he should have, instead of the Denver Nuggets. He would have won a championship his first year. More than likely won a championship his second year. And possibly won a championship that third year when I think the coach was Flip Saunders, and they won 64 games. Right? So this guy could have started his career with a three-peat. But, that's what it could have, should have. But yeah, I understand Paul Pierce is coming from 100%, man. I've seen this dude give it to LeBron James when he was at the tail end of his career. Paul Pierce had that warrior spirit, man. I can see it. I can see them. And plus, man, look, is LeBron James really known as like a fourth quarter dynamite clutch performer? Nope. Paul Pierce used to lead the NBA or be top 2 or 3 in the NBA in fourth quarter points. So I watched this dude perform on the highest plateau when oftentimes prior to 2007 or even, when he was with the Wizards, I saw him have flashback moments. So yeah, I definitely understand where he's coming from, and I don't think he's lying about it. I don't think he's capping. I think they could have beaten Miami, and that would have given Paul Pierce more championships. If Boston was younger, he could have won 2 or 3 titles, and LeBron would have probably had just fewer. He would have had 2. If everything else went the same. I agree with that 100%. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.